I always start with a really quick, grammar lesson on what direct objects are. All right. When it comes to direct objects, you basically ask yourself the question, whom or what is verbed? Okay. If you want the technical meaning, obviously, a direct object receives the action of the verb directly. Okay? But this is another way to look at it. Whom or what is being verbed? Okay? So, for example, I write a letter. Okay? What is the verb in that sentence? What's the action word?
Right.
Right. Gracias. Who is doing the writing?
Me.
I. Gracias. So that is your subject. Okay. And now you ask yourself the question, and in this case, it's a what. What is being written? What is being written? A letter. That is your direct object. Okay? That's how you identify it. If you want to make it a person, I can say, I see Dale. We'll use Dale as our example. Okay? What is the verb here? See. Okay? And no, I'm not saying yes in Spanish. Okay? Once again, the subject is who's performing the action. All right, so I, and in this case now, since we're talking about a person, whom is seen? Dale. Okay, so Dale is our direct object. And if you ever wanted to know the difference between who and whom, who is a subject pronoun, whom is an object pronoun. Okay, so Dale is receiving me being seen, or him being seen. All right, yes, shut up. So yes, direct object. You gave the look. All right, okay. Now, in Inglés, okay, if for whatever reason we've already made reference to the letter, okay, and in language and in linguistics, it's called an antecedent. You don't need to know that unless you're a geek like Santos. But if you've already established something, like Jesse promised me a letter, and so then I received the letter on Wednesday, and I told Jesse that I would write a letter back to him, and so I write a letter, and then I send the letter. Okay, a letter. If we've already established that the thing, the direct object, is a letter, we can typically replace it with a direct object pronoun. If I didn't want to say a letter over and over and over again, I promised Jesse a letter, and so today I write, what can I replace letter with? If I don't want to say letter over and over and over again, I promised Jesse a letter. I write it. It is the most common direct object pronoun in the English language. Okay? Jesse asked for a letter of recommendation. I promised him I would write a letter of recommendation. And so today I will write it. Okay? I don't have to repeat letter over and over and over again. Okay? Dale was supposed to come to class, but I did not see Dale walk into class, and then suddenly I looked in the back of the room and I see Dale. All right? Sorry, Dale. Dale. All right? You don't want to say it over and over again. So I can say I see him. Okay? That is a direct object pronoun. Okay? Dale was late to class. I did not see him walk in, and then I looked, and now I see him. All right? We've already established that, he's the antecedent. Okay? questions on direct objects or direct object pronouns? Just as an aside, this is why I always get pissed off when like people are like, so what are your pronouns? Like USA or, suck my... I'm like, no, actually, those are verbs and nouns. I don't use pronoun. Yes, you do. You use the word it all the time. That's a pronoun. You use the word I. This is actually a pronoun, all right? Otherwise, you'd say, Santos, write a letter, okay, which we don't speak about ourselves that way. Anyways, okay, just my own little pet peeve. All right, Español is the same way, okay? Yo escribo la carta. Okay? And we're in luck because usually, and I had to take a whole semester, it was called morphosyntax. Sentence structure in both English and Spanish is very, very similar, so you actually don't have to worry about rearranging sentences. Okay? Your subject, your verb, and if you want to do it in Spanglish, what is being escriboed? It's your carta, all right? That's your direct object, all right? Now, I literally was just teaching this in my Spanish 1 this week. Remember when we did saber and conocer, okay? And when we did conocer, we used what's called the personal a. And at the time, of course, conocer was really the only verb we were doing it with, but it actually applies to all verbs except for one, where whenever the direct object is a person, guess what we have to have? The personal a. Yo veo a Dale. Okay? So, our verb, our subject, and the personal a is kind of thrown into that, okay, our direct object, all right? So just kind of to rehash, I can say, yo conozco a Justin, okay? And that's because, whom do you know? I know Justin. Well, it's the same thing with all verbs. Whom do you see? I see Dale, all right? Because they are persons, we have to have the personal a. Does anyone remember the only verb that's the exception? That's okay. It was like 6 months ago. Tener. That's why you say yo tengo dos hermanos, not yo tengo a dos hermanos. Okay? So tener is the only verb you don't have to use it with. Anyways, all right? Everything I've just babbled about, okay, is the first half of the gray box on 234. Okay, the concept of direct objects. If you go down to the bottom half, okay, these are your direct object pronouns in Español, okay? And you will notice, let me use el negro for this, you will notice that these are, I want to say similar, but no, they are downright identical to the reflexives. Me, te, nos, and os. Okay? The only difference is him, her, or them, or it. We now include it. But because remember, a pronoun takes the place of a noun, and in Spanish, all nouns have gender. This is your masculine it. That's your feminine it. Okay? This would also be him or her. This is your masculine, and I'm sorry, that should be an F. All right? Your masculine, them, and your feminine, them. Okay? And so, it functions the same way. Okay? I don't want to talk about la carta all the time. Just like in English, we don't want to use the word letter. Okay? Well, we're going to replace it with it, but la carta is feminine. So what form of it are we going to replace it with? Is it lo or la? La, because it's feminine. Okay? Yo veo a Dale. I see him. But because Dale is masculine, what are we going to replace it with? Or him with? Lo. Now, I'm deleting the personal a because that's all part of it. Okay? Unfortunately, Spanish isn't this easy. Okay? Because we do, just like with reflexives, whenever you use pronouns, you have to move them. Fortunately, the rules are the same. Where do we have to move it to? The front. Yo la escribo means I write it. Yo lo veo, I see him. Okay? So you move it to the front, you move it right in front of the verb. All right? And if you look at the top of page 235, okay, and actually, well, because there's more to explain. All right? Placement of direct object pronouns, it goes to the front. Okay, is basically that first asterisk or that first bullet point, you put it in front. Okay, that's all it's telling you. Okay, if you want to make the sentence negative, you put the no in front of the pronoun. Yo no la escribo, I don't write it. Okay? Yo no lo veo, I don't see him. Okay? It has to go right in front of the pronoun though. You can't put no yo lo veo or yo lo no veo. Okay? It has to go right in front of the pronoun if you want to make it negative. All right? That's the second bullet mark. Okay? That is the placement. Now, just like with reflexives, okay? The next one that it gives you example, okay, is when you have a double verb, okay? Jesse asks, Mr. Santos, that letter of recommendation I asked you for, like, where is it, dude? All right, semester ends in a week. And I say, voy a escribir la carta. I am going to write the letter, okay? But obviously, I don't want to use carta because we've been discussing his letter of recommendation. So I say, I am going to write it, okay? Which... remember, we can replace it with la. All right? Now, just like with reflexives, you now have a choice. You can either leave it right here and attach it to the verb that you didn't change. Okay? So I could say, Jesse, be patient. Voy a escribir la. I am going to write it. Okay? Or you can put it in front, but you have to put it in front of the whole sentence. La voy a escribir. I am going to write it. Okay? Both of these mean the exact same thing. It's literally just speaker's choice. So some native speakers will say it one way, others will say it a different way. To you as Spanish learners, I always say, just attach it to the end. That's one less thing you have to worry about. Okay? Voy a escribir la, as opposed to la voy a escribir. But just so that you're aware, I tend to use this structure more. So I know there's only a week left, but if you ever hear me use stuff like this in Spanish, you'll hear me say, Jesse, be patient. La voy a escribir. You know, la voy a escribir mañana. I'm going to write it tomorrow. Okay? So, wherever. Okay? Hey, where's Dale? Okay? Oh yeah, I'm going to go see Dale mañana. Voy a ver a Dale mañana. Okay? Remember, we can replace a Dale with lo. So, voy a verlo mañana. I'm going to see him tomorrow. Okay? Or, lo voy a ver. Okay? Voy a ver, I'm sorry, lo voy a ver mañana. I'm going to see him tomorrow. Here's where it gets a little bit trickier because the time marker, the word mañana, you can also put it either at the front of the sentence or at the back of the sentence. All right, that's also speaker's choice. Preguntas on that part. This applies to any structure, okay, where you have two verbs, okay? And so it actually gives you more, that's basically what the rest of the examples are, okay? It gives you like, you know, more examples of double verb construction and whatnot. So I'm not gonna go through all of it, all right? The last part basically just goes into the fact that sometimes accent marks change because you're adding an extra syllable, and typically when you have accent marks for pronunciation, it's determined by the number of syllables. And so when you add an extra syllable, you're either going to take away an accent or add an accent, just depending on the verb. The only one that they work with is the verb probar, which is, you know, to try on. All right. Bueno. Then, turn the page, por favor. Okay. You know what? We literally only have 2 minutes, so vamos a stop aquí. I will